I miss them horns, baby. I miss them horns.
My goodness.
I'm waiting for it, Casey.
Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. UFC Vegas 46 preview show starts now!
Wow, never has that. It sounded so good. Man, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I think that is full proof right there. And after nearly a month without a UFC card, that all changes tomorrow. So happy New Year to us all. It's a celebration. The UFC is back. UFC Vegas 46 goes down at the Apex tomorrow night. A very interesting main event in a very deep and very talent-filled featherweight division, especially these days with all the stuff that's been going on in the news. And I am very excited to talk all about this card and about the UFC being back. So thank you for joining us. I am Mike Heck. Hope you're having a great week. We got the tripod in full effect. We have the dog barking. Of course, the doorbell rings when the freaking preview show starts. Unbelievable. But we have the Prince of Positivity, the Ric Flair of the group, if you will, because while Jed Meshew is like Hulk Hogan with the old WWF or BTL championship belt, AK Lee is walking around Canada with the old NWA title belt. He's the real world's champion of BTL.
You're darn right.
He's here to talk some fights with us on this Fight Night Eve. My best friend, it is great to see you. How are you?
Guys, my best friend Mike, my other best friend, Casey Leydon. MMA is back. MMA has been back. We had Invicta on Wednesday. We had one championship this morning. We got LFA tonight. We got KSW on Saturday as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on. People definitely check out, by the way, today's Missed Fists. We've had some some supreme MMA weirdness to start the year already. So make sure you check out Missed Fists on MMAfighting.com. MMA is definitely happening in some ways that it shouldn't. But that's not the case on Saturday. Fingers crossed if everything hangs together here.
Yes, and on the ones and twos, my maroon shirt wearing brother, Mr. E. Casey Leydon, the best producer in the business. We did not plan this, but alas, here we are. We're like, between the three of us, we are like a checkers board right here. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. I feel rusty. I'm like, fights now. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot they actually fight. I thought this was just, I thought MMA was just guys signing up for fights and then dropping out of fights. I thought that's all MMA
theoretical.
was. I didn't actually realize that they actually fight. So this is all news to me. This is all new. Yeah. So I'm excited.
All right, well, let's talk about some fights. And let's start with tomorrow night's main event. We have Calvin Kattar, who will enter the octagon at the same time his beloved New England Patriots are playing the Buffalo Bills in the first round of the NFL playoffs. He will take on Giga Chikadze. This is a great fight. Tons of storylines if you really look for them. Very interesting storylines for both guys. We got Calvin Kattar returning almost a year to the day of his loss to Max Holloway. 364 days after that beating he took against Max Holloway. He's taken out a guy in Giga Chikadze who's been on a tear. 7-0 in the UFC. He's finished his last 3 fights. Last 2, he stopped Cub Swanson, and then he stops Edson Barboza in his first main event. The guy is on fire. Those are just sort of the casual, easy to find storylines, AK, but what stands out to you about this first main event of the year for the Ultimate Fighting Championship?
This is the kind of main event that we ask the UFC to book more often. You know what I mean? Fans sometimes complaining about guys being protected. Neither man is being protected here. This is, Kattar is coming off that tough loss, a memorable loss, a fight that a lot of people had sort of on their, even though it was so one-sided, it was on their, maybe top 10 best fights of 2021, certainly top 10 most memorable, as lopsided as it was. So this is not a bounce back fight for him. And the UFC loves Calvin Kattar. He's a good company man. He's a New England boy like Dana White. On paper, you'd think like, oh, well, they'd want to give him, certainly someone in the top 10, but maybe not someone that's looking to climb over him like Giga Chikadze is, because Giga Chikadze is right now arguably the hottest name at 145 pounds, 7-0, 9 straight wins overall, including a couple before the UFC. I think 3 straight knockouts, I believe. So he's answered the questions about can he finish fights. He's answered the questions about can he beat elite competition. He just beat Edson Barboza. And now, again, he's not getting an easy road to an eventual title shot. I know there was some talk about, could he be an option to face Volkanovski with Max Holloway falling out? UFC didn't blink on that one. They're like, you got a fight coming up. Let's see how this goes. And I'm sure when we look at the numbers, Giga pretty heavily favored, but this is not a layup for Giga Chikadze at all. Calvin Kattar as tough as they come.
We'll get to the betting lines in a minute, but I just want to get Casey's thoughts on this first main event. Does this one scratch you where you itch, sir? You like this one?
I love this one just from the pure, just high-level martial arts, as like Jose likes to say, just high-level violence. Both fighters are just excellent featherweights. I don't know if either fighter is, at championship caliber yet. I mean, but they clearly are, like, on the rise and kind of, like, right there. I'm not exactly sold on, or is either guy a future champ, but I love this fight. But it's also a weird fight to me because it's very risky for both fighters. It's, Kattar, I mean, he might have back-to-back losses after this fight. Very rarely do we kind of see title contenders, or future champs have back-to-back losses. They lose every once in a while, but not back-to-back. And this could be a rough night for Kattar. And for Chikadze, he's fighting someone behind him in the rankings right now. So, I mean, outside of, being the main event spot and just the notoriety of it, it's a risky fight for him too, because he's gonna be in the same spot. But I guess with the kind of the Holloway situation right now, there is some definitely more spice on this fight for sure.
All right, so I do want to go back to you, Casey, because I always enjoy your reactions to the betting lines. And right now, according to our friends at DraftKings, Giga Chikadze is a pretty big favorite here. In fact, this was not the case 20 minutes ago. It has changed. Giga Chikadze is now the biggest favorite on this card at minus 255. The comeback on Calvin Kattar is plus 205. He's the biggest underdog on this card right now. Before, it was TJ Brown is the biggest favorite against Charles Rosa. I don't think Chikadze being the favorite is all that surprising here, especially with the run he's been on, the wins he's been able to put together. But Casey, this much of a favorite, does that surprise you? Like minus 255, that's a big number.
Wow, even more than Kelleher Kroom? Like Kroom coming in like on 15 minutes notice? That's yeah. Either way, that's wild. Yeah, I'm looking at the Tapology, which is a straight pick 'em. 82% of MMA fans are picking Chikadze, and you said the betting lines too. Yeah, that's kind of wild. This is all based off just getting your butt kicked by Max Holloway. I mean, I just find that.
Oh no, I'm more so how highly people think of Chikadze. I think definitely that is. It's yeah. I don't think it's an indictment of Kattar at all.
I think it's a lot that has to do with that. I think we saw Max Holloway. We saw Kattar get his ass kicked for 25 minutes. That's hard to kind of erase from people's memories. If erase, I really can't. I mean, I know this is hypothetical, but like, if that Holloway fight never happened, what's the line right now? Are people just kind of like forgetting about Calvin Kattar? Because it seems like Chikadze all week, this fight is just a formality for his way to a title shot. So I guess the Chikadze kind of confidence and bravado kind of coming into this fight week is really sold on fans. I don't know. That's a kind of a shocking betting line, but yeah, here we are.
Well, because you have to keep in mind, Kattar.
Hold on.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to say I stand corrected because I just went to Best Fight Odds, and for some reason on the DraftKings site, the Kelleher Kroom line wasn't up there, but Kelleher is a minus 300 favorite. So
okay.
Chikadze, the second biggest favorite on the card. But go ahead, AK. I apologize.
Okay, so Casey, you're right on that. So Kelleher, should. We thought he'd be the biggest favorite, and certainly is. But Kattar came on. He's a good fighter, we know, and he's fought great competition. But bettors also like fighters who have shown like dominance or gone on crazy runs. He's never had more than a 2-fight win streak in the UFC. And again, that shouldn't matter to us, like for informed fans, informed people in the media. But when you see a guy who has, I think 6-3. I'm just looking at his record now. 6-3 in the UFC, compared to a guy who's 7-0 in the UFC and is streaking, like we said, towards the title shot. That is a very easy thing for bettors to just say, "Oh, well, this guy's going to kill." The ceiling for Kattar is here, and the ceiling for Chikadze is here. And again, we don't know if that's a fact, but again, this is talking about betting is to bring in the casual money, right? So I don't think it's again, like I said, I don't think it's just the Holloway fight. I think it's also people look at Kattar's record and go like, "Oh, this guy's tough, but is he a world title contender?" And I think this fight will tell us a lot about that. I fair or not, I do think if Kattar loses, it does put a ceiling on whether he is viewed as someone who could challenge for the title himself, or as a fan favorite, racks up 20 22 UFC fights, but never quite gets that title shot.
Yeah, a lot you just said that I definitely want to follow up with. But I want to go back to you, AK, because with this particular matchup, I mean, just look at what these guys bring to the table from a striking perspective. Kattar is a terrific boxer. He's one of the best in the division. Chikadze's boxing has improved quite a bit, but he has that kickboxing background. He's super dynamic. His footwork is so tricky and so awesome. And when he lands, it means a whole hell of a lot when he connects, especially when he goes, because those body attacks are absolutely nasty. And Kattar typically has that really high boxing guard, so he could be susceptible to those kicks to the body, to the attacks to the body. Obviously, Kattar has that big right hand. He's got that Hall of Fame chin. Never been stopped due to strikes in his entire career. He hasn't even been dropped in his UFC career. Eats a record amount of shots against Max Holloway. The dynamics on the feet, AK, pretty interesting when you really break it down, are they not?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are favoring Kattar in one. If it breaks down to sort of a bit more of a brawl, they definitely like the toughness aspect there. The cardio for sure of Kattar. We've seen him go 5 rounds. Again, he went 5 rounds. That's one thing he did gain from the 5 rounds with Holloway, is that even though he was getting wrecked, he was still kind of going for it in round 5. It's one of those. It's one reason why, like, one of the big narratives. I mean, yes, a lot of people said, "Oh, why didn't they throw in the towel, or why didn't they stop the fight?" But if people go back and watch that fight, there was still that, like, I don't think anyone would have an issue if his corner was like, yeah, he's done, don't bring him up for the 5th. But if you watch it again, you're like, man, he really was keeping alive that thought that he was going to land some haymaker or something in the 5th round and at least hurt Holloway and make it interesting. And whether that happened or not, it backed up kind of what we already knew about him, was that he is so durable, like you said, a legendary chin already in his UFC career. So I don't know if I'm sticking with that idea that he necessarily wins a 5-round fight, but I understand the logic between people saying he's going to want to extend it, and Giga's going to need to get ahead early or finish early.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good in the Ige fight as well down the stretch, and we don't see all that often in Calvin Kattar fights. Casey is his wrestling, and there are a lot of people who feel like Calvin might change. Yeah, things up a little bit, mix in some takedowns, because he does have a wrestling background. Me being from Massachusetts, I knew Kattar from the high school wrestling scene. I think he was like a top 5 in the entire state of Massachusetts in his senior year in high school. He could have wrestled in college, but he chose to go down the MMA path. He did the college thing and got a degree. And Chikadze, as we've seen, certainly has improved on the ground. You saw it, especially in the Barboza fight. He's trying to lock in submissions and almost submitted Edson Barboza before he put him away later on in the fight. How much wrestling, Casey, how much grappling are you expecting to see tomorrow night? Would you bet on Calvin Kattar shooting for a couple of takedowns in this fight? Heck, maybe Giga Chikadze shoots for takedowns.
If I'm Calvin Kattar, I definitely shoot for takedowns. I don't think his path to victory is necessarily wrestling or controlling Giga on the ground, but he has to threaten with the wrestling. He has to close. He can't let Giga fight at that kickboxing range. If it's a kickboxing match, Giga wins this easily. That's just how it is. But fight mixed martial arts, and that's going to be to me the fight. Can Kattar make this a mixed martial arts fight in a sense, and use that wrestling to basically to improve Kattar's, I think, just pure boxing strengths. I think Kattar's a better boxer, but like I said, we're mixed martial arts, so it's like I don't want to play the whole boxing versus kickboxing thing. But if his wrestling can put Giga on edge and close that range, then that opens up Kattar's boxing, and that to me that's gonna be if Kattar can establish that, he has a much better chance of winning this fight. Also, small cage. I think that's going to be to Kattar's advantage with the wrestling and just the smaller boxing range. But the wrestling I think will definitely be a factor if Kattar will win this fight. If Kattar is going to win this fight.
Before we get to the picks, gentlemen, I do want to go back to something that AK mentioned earlier, because a big story in the build to this fight had to do with this Volkanovski-Holloway Korean Zombie title situation. Giga was very vocal about wanting the title shot. Some people thought it was disrespectful, perhaps thinking that maybe he's overlooking Kattar, although at the same time, like, he's been very respectful of Kattar. He's saying the right things. Kattar's team, they have that New England Patriots mentality. We focus on this fight. We focus on what we can control, and that's it. It's Giga and nothing else. A win for Giga, AK, probably puts him next in line for a title shot. Probably against the winner of Volkanovski and the Korean Zombie, depending on how long Max Holloway's out. Or at worst, he might even get the Max Holloway fight himself. And for Kattar, he'll still have some work to do, but if he ever wants to get a title shot in the UFC, he has to 1,000,000% win this fight tomorrow. So my question to you, AK, is who needs this one more, Kattar or Giga Chikadze?
I mean, Kattar needs to stay afloat, but I will say, we've seen stranger things happen. I mean, I think I know what you mean. He has to win this one to kind of stay on that track to like earn a UFC title shot in the traditional way. But I could see him, bouncing. Let's say he loses. I could see him bouncing back with a 2-fight win streak, 3-fight win streak, staying in that sphere, some short notice opportunity coming up. And look, we just saw a featherweight title fight fall through. That can happen at any time, unfortunately, to any UFC title fight in any division. So I wouldn't say if he loses, it's like, oh, well, no. I mean, we're never going to see Calvin Kattar fight for a title just because there's no never in this crazy business of ours. But yes, as far as the traditional arc, he needs to win this one. Otherwise, he's just is pretty much put on UFC's list of like, yeah. So if we need someone for a title shot, a replacement, we'll call him. But if he loses, it's like we don't look at Kattar as someone who is like we're gonna market as a champion. We're not gonna like build events around him. He's a fun guy. We like him. We feel like we can throw him in any matchup we want. And again, that's not a bad place to be. You can have a great UFC career like that. But of course, if you're a fighter, you're in your prime, you want to be in that championship stream. So I do think he needs it a bit more. Giga, again, I don't know if anyone would be, even though he's such a big favorite, I think we've outlined a lot of the reasons why people would not be surprised if he lost. And, going from 7-1 and then bouncing back and going 8-1, 9-1, that's much closer. He'll fall less further with a loss, I feel. So I think Kattar really, really needs this one on Saturday.
Casey, what do you think? Do you agree it's more Kattar needs this one more, or do you feel like Chikadze needs this one more?
Oh, I kind of mentioned this earlier. I definitely think Kattar needs this more. That's why I thought this was such a risky fight for Kattar, because, I mean, he could easily lose this fight because Giga's obviously a very talented featherweight. And, yeah, 2 losses in a row against two top 10 guys. Like, it's not a bad. I mean, Kattar's an extremely exciting fighter, but I kind of feel like he might be in that kind of Shane Burgos kind of area, like where you're getting an exciting fight, but do the fans, do the media, does the UFC really believe you're a true title contender? And if Kattar loses this fight, yeah, he can come back and get a title shot eventually, but it's gonna be he'll have to go in some sort of incredible run. And if Giga loses, it's fine. It's a exciting. He loses a quality opposition and just 1 loss. But 2 losses in a main event, back-to-back main events. It's a lot of people seeing you lose, unfortunately.
I think this is super duper close, and you can absolutely make the argument that Giga Chikadze needs this one more because, one, all the things he said in the build-up to this fight, calling out the champion, saying he's a wuss for going with the easy fight in the Korean Zombie. And by the way, I know we always talk about 55 just being loaded. We talk about 135 being so deep. 145 is ridiculous right now. There are the guys that are at the top of this division right now, the guys that are on the come up. I mean, it's just insane. It is a loaded division, and there are a lot of young, hungry monsters on the come up right now. The window to get to a title shot in this division in particular is super, super small, and you may only get 1 shot at it right now. You can make arguments for both of these guys, and that's what makes this fight really interesting. But you can definitely make the argument that Giga needs this one more. A loss sets him back in a big way in this division because Volkanovski is not the most active guy on the planet. As soon as Max Holloway is ready to fight, he's probably getting the title fight. Unless Giga wins impressively, then we have a conversation to be had. But then just look at these names that are coming up. Josh Emmett has a legitimate argument to have been a substitution for this fight. Arnold Allen is coming back. That dude is a monster. Then we got Ilya Taporia. We got the Mavzar Evloyevs of the world. We got the Sodiq Yusufs of the world. The road is going to get more difficult for either of these guys on a loss. Like, they're going to be facing one of these surging contenders in their next fight, and these guys are very dangerous guys. So, yeah, I think there's a lot on the line for both these guys, but you could definitely make the argument that Giga needs this one more. Unless I'm crazy. Am I nuts?
I think in in the short term, like within the next year, if Giga wants the title shot within the next year, he has to win tomorrow night. That's what I meant with Kattar. If he does lose, I would think he would need to win like 6 in a row. Like we're not gonna see him in a like almost. I think of like a little bit like say like Jan Blachowicz. You know, he was kind of we knew when the UFC signed him, he was obviously a very good light heavyweight. He kind of got lost. I think he lost 2 times in a row. And we kind of forgot about him. And then like 4 or 5 years later, it took him that long to get to a title shot. That's what I mean. That's what I mean for Kattar. It's gonna take him a long time to get back to a title shot. Obviously, a loss sucks for both guys. That's all.
Yeah, I think it.
But I totally see your reasoning. I understand your reasoning, absolutely, Mr. Head.
Yeah, they're both 34, so neither of them are spring chickens at this point, especially at this point in their career. They're both the same age. Kattar's got a little more MMA experience, but obviously Chikadze's got the kickboxing experience. So, all right, AK, here we go. First main event pick of 2022. What's your gut telling you? Who gets this thing done? Who closes the show?
This is going to be crazy because I'm about to go however many fights. I'm going to go perfect in 2022, guys. Like with all my UFC picks starting now. Starting now, just clip this and just remember holy crap, when AK went 385 for 385, but it's amazing. I started with this one and picked the actual result, how it ended. So I'm going a little boring here. I actually favor Chikadze by decision. I think he's going to do better going the distance than people think. I think he's going to keep this even with the small cage. I think he's going to be able to do work his kickboxing magic and keep this at the range he wants to keep it at. There'll certainly be moments of excitement. But I think it's going to be a more technical fight. In a good way, a technical, entertaining fight. There'll be moments where Kattar wants to kind of able to make it ugly, maybe get in there, like we said, with his wrestling, do some work in the clinch. I think that'll be key. But I think Chikadze has a really good clinch game as well. So, which is one of the reasons why I see him as a future title challenger. So I'm going, 5 rounds, good fight, probably not a great fight, but I think a satisfactory main event for the UFC's first card of 2022, and Chikadze on points.
Casey, what do you think? Are you going with Kattar to pull off the upset? Are you going with Chikadze to win a decision? Or are you going with Giga to be the first man ever to stop Calvin Kattar via strikes?
That would be very impressive if Giga can do that. If Giga does stop Kattar with strikes, I would expect some sort of just violent kick to the body. But I'm kind of agreeing with AK here. I actually, even though I'm super excited to see this fight, I do think I think both guys need that W so bad. I think Giga will win a 4-1, 3-2 type decision, but I think it's gonna be a safe, smart, technical kickboxing match, and I don't think Kattar's wrestling will be able to kind of sway the judges enough for Kattar to win. I don't think he'll be able to take Giga down consistently enough and hold him down to win rounds. And I think Giga's dangerous kicking game will be enough to win I don't say dominant decision, but he's going to be the clear winner, I think, Giga.
I'm torn here. Not because of the New England bias, AK. You button it up, and you button it up right now, my best friend.
What was our over/under on New England mentions, Casey? It was probably what, 3.5, 3.5. I think I went under. You went over. I think you won. I think you won.
Yeah.
I think you won.
Okay, so I've thought about this a lot over the last couple of days because there's so many factors here. Because you have Chikadze on the come up, lots of combat sports experience. He's been rolling. Kattar's coming off that loss to Holloway. But he's been a total sponge from all accounts since that fight. And while we wanted Kattar to take all the time in the world to recover from the Holloway fight, he recovered, remarkably well, shockingly well from what I've been told. When he was getting tested for concussions after the Holloway fight, there were other fights in his career where the numbers were worse, which is just shocking. He could have fought in September and done so easily. But in Calvin's eyes, their approach was the extra time never makes you worse. And focusing on getting better, making improvements physically, mentally, emotionally, skill set wise, a year is a lot of time to get better. The way I see this fight playing out is Kattar's going to have to weather a storm. He's going to have to deal with some punishment. And with that, he's going to have to find a way to make this fight really ugly. Make Chikadze work at all times. Almost put on a flyweight pace. Try to make him struggle, make him guess, stay inside and make it grueling. Oh, yeah. And he has to do that while avoiding these incredible, powerful shots from an incredibly dangerous striker like Giga Chikadze, especially to the body. Kattar's defense needs to go beyond just taking a shot to the face and getting punched, because he gets hit an awful lot for my liking heading into a fight like this. I actually think he has like a negative strike discrepancy in his entire UFC career. Having said that, this has Kattar versus Zabit vibes to it, where Kattar is typically a slow starter, especially in the first round. Second round, he starts to get comfortable. Then he finds a way to hit that second gear near the third round. If Kattar can get to the fourth round, it's going to get interesting in my eyes. I think Kattar will end the fight with momentum, but it's going to be too little too late, if that makes sense. I think Chikadze wins the decision in a fight that's more competitive than a lot of people think it's going to be. There you go, AK, all right? I'm picking against the new.
I was shocked. I thought you were going to do the AK special there for a second, where I completely outline why one person will win, and then at the end I go like, but I'm picking the other guy. That's where I thought. I'm like, is he about to do an AK special?
Yeah, I think Giga is going to grow a lot from this fight. I think it's going to be a really competitive fight. I really do.
I definitely think it's going to be competitive. When I say I don't think it's going to be an exciting brawl. I think from a technical kickboxing nerd, I try to think I am. I'm super excited about this fight, but I don't think it'll be like this kind of brawl because I don't think that's not what Giga wants. I don't think that's what Kattar wants. But I think the biggest kind of mystery factor in this fight is the year off. And like everything we're saying about Calvin Kattar is based on a fighter from a year ago. He had 25 minutes of getting his butt kicked, and you learn a lot about yourself in those 25 minutes. And especially as coaches, they're going to see so much in those 25 minutes, and they've had an entire year to take what they learned and make Calvin a better fighter. Will we see it on Saturday? I don't know, but I definitely think that it's just kind of this mystery that we just don't know. And I think all of our, maybe me and AK, but I think our kind of analysis of this fight is based on the Kattar from a year ago. We just don't know the guy that will show up this Saturday. So that's why it's a mystery. it's fun. That's why I can't wait.
A very interesting storyline added to this fight. So that's the main event. Although the card has changed quite a bit over the last several days, there are some fights on this card. This main card, especially, AK. What's your favorite fight on this main card outside of the main event? Which one gets you going?
Mike, you tricked me again. Thank goodness. I'm trying to anticipate your moves. I thought for a second you were going to refer to the Jake Collier Chase Sherman fight as the co-main event, because I had a whole spiel ready going like, this is with respect to Jake Collier and Chase Sherman, excuse me. This is not a co-main event. I don't know why they didn't put Caitlin. I should say I do know why they didn't put Caitlin Chikadze and Jennifer Maia. I get it. Neither is the most exciting fighter. I understand, but rankings-wise, I think it would have been very respectful.
It matters,
right? To put the flyweights in there.
They're obviously top 5 fighters. It's thrown behind.
They're obviously hoping for chaos between Sherman and Collier, which is not a bad gamble. They are heavyweights, but boy, it just looks bad on paper. Like I think Collier's coming off a loss, Sherman coming off 2 losses. Yeah, back-to-back losses. This is like your sort of this is on ESPN, guys. This is what you're presenting on ESPN. I mean, that's something else. So I hope it's a fun fight. I hope both guys go to war and like surprise us and get a fight of the night bonus. Just the optics of it are a bit weird, but my sleeper would be, and let me say, we lost so many. My sleeper would have been like Michelle Pereira versus Muslim Salikov, but that's not happening. If anyone wants to go to Tapology.com, this is one of those cards where if you go down to the canceled and fizzled bout section,
it's longer than the actual fight card.
Longer. This rarely happens, but when it does, my goodness, it is quite a sight. Yeah, there's about 11 canceled and fizzled bouts, and we are left with 10 remaining bouts. So goodness, it's just that. Thankfully, some of these have been rescheduled, but of the fights that are on there, I mean, there's still some good ones. I don't even think this is a sleeper. I would say Brandon Royval, Rogerio Bontorin, but I don't even think that's a sleeper.
I'm not asking for a sleeper right now. I'm asking for your favorite main card fight outside of the main event.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We were moving on to sleeper. Sorry. I mean, then it's definitely Brandon Royval and Bontorin. I mean, I think this is a great fight. I've seen a lot of people just kind of overlooking this. This has all the makings of, again, it's 2 ranked guys, 2 guys who are top 15 in MMA Fighting's global rankings. two exciting fighters. Flyweight, I always say, such an underrated division. These two guys are potentially, to string a few wins together. You could see them in the title picture. So I love that. Love the Royval Bontarine matchup. That could be the co-main. I think that would have been a better co-main than. But UFC hates flyweights. They hate flyweights, men or women.
Yeah.
They hate flyweights.
Doesn't matter what gender you are. If you weigh 125 pounds, you suck.
You suck, apparently.
You suck.
What's yours, Casey, and why is it Chikadze and Maia too?
I hope it's Chikadze and Maia too, because they're two top five. They're two of the best flyweights in the world. Yes, they've both been involved in kind of lackluster fights, but I'm just crossing my fingers that just get two boring fighters and somehow you get this crazy brawl. I don't think that will happen, but I am excited for that match. Man, and it's just. I just hate the UFC just crapping on flyweights, men or women, and either Royval or how do you say his last name? Bontarine. Yeah, that one or Chikadze and Maia should absolutely be the co-main event. It's just kind of a slap in the face to 125ers, but yeah, the two 125 fights at top of card are clearly after the main event the best fights on the card.
I love the Royval Bontarine fight, as most would probably guess. I'm going to go a little off the reservation with this one. The fight I'm actually most intrigued about on this entire card, maybe even including the main event, is the battle between Brandon Royval and himself. And what I mean by that is, after speaking to him a couple of weeks ago, and that article I think is dropping tomorrow, so you guys can read it for yourself. I cannot wait to see how he looks in this fight, because anyone who has watched him compete over the last few years, this guy is pure chaos. It's what we've always enjoyed about Brandon Royval, right? He's a freaking wrecking ball in there. And he knows that at this level, it can be a weapon, but it just needs to be controlled in some way. And he was telling me that Mark Montoya would just have him take walks around Factory X, just like controlled walks around the mats, slow, methodical. And when the walk was almost done, Mark would tell him, like, all right, you're almost done. Here's the ending of the walk. And Royval would almost get antsy about it. Like, he would start to move a little faster and he would lose control and he'd lose focus on just walking to the end of the walk itself. And that's one thing he's been working on, is the focus and the balance. He's watched a lot of Sean O'Malley fights to try to control that stuff and see how you can still be effective and explosive, but you don't have to run through a wall every single fight. I've been watching this guy for a long time, even before LFA. I'm so fascinated by this. Can he control the mayhem and use it in a wise, effective, and patient manner? I'm enthralled by the whole thing. The psychology behind Brandon Royval and his approach to this fight, I'm really interested in it. So I'm interested to see how he performs, if he can control the chaos. Like, if he hurts Bontarine at any point in this fight, like, what will he do? Will he just explode and go off the reservation? Or will he be more O'Malley-esque and just pick his shot and wait for the right moment? So I'm really excited for that. So, AK, now you can give us your low-key. Oh, go ahead.
But also about Royval, if he loses this fight, that's 3 in a row. And that's just, obviously, losing to Moreno, losing to Pantoja, those are top 5 flyweights, and he's facing another top 10 flyweight. I would just hate if the UFC kind of, I don't even want to go there, but 3 losses in a row always suck, and they did not give him an easy a tune-up fight to kind of get the win streak back. So very excited for that fight.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those fights that the longer it goes, the more it favors Royval. So it'll be interesting to see, like, if he has the approach of, like, all right, let's get this thing deep. Let's get this to the 3rd round. And I think if he does, he could probably put Bontarine away. But go ahead, AK.
I was going to say, I'm just looking at who he fought in the UFC so far. He has not had an easy fight. This run is insane. Tim Elliott for his first fight. Kai Kara France, his second fight. Brandon Moreno.
Yeah.
Who he beat. Yeah, he beat Tim Elliott and he beat Kai Kara France.
Yeah.
That Tim Elliott fight was so fun. And then Brandon Moreno and Alexandre Pantoja. So, I mean, that's insane. I mean, I get it. You'll look at the UFC will look at his record and be like, oh, if he loses, he's 2-3, 12-7 overall, whatever, we can cut this guy. But it's such a strong division and he's such a fun guy to have around. Like, I just, again, I don't know what his contract status is. But I hope that they win or lose, as long as he puts on a good performance, you keep him around. I mean, this is why you have guys like this on the roster. So yeah, I think we're all in agreement. That's a just one to keep an eye on. It's a great looking fight.
It's a great fight. All right, low key banger time, AK, and then
Low
we'll go
key
to the
banger.
teams. What do you
Listen,
got?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know anything about. I'm gonna go just weird because this is a very strange card, and I'll be honest with you. I don't blame anyone who's not super excited about it. There's just been replacements, a lot of newcomers. I guess people who follow the Contender Series would be more familiar with some of these names than I am. I did not watch it closely this previous season. Mike, why is Joseph Holmes? Someone asked earlier who has the best nickname on this card. Why is Joseph Holmes called Ugly Man?
Because it's
Why?
it's a play on words. But there's an old like 90s rock and roll guy named Ugly, or it was Ugly Kid Joe. So
Ugly
he's
Kid.
Ugly
I remember,
Man
of course.
Joe.
I hate
But it's
everything
more
about
about-
you. A great song. Yes, that's
Yeah,
what
it's
it's a
more-
reference to.
It's more about like his green. When he got into MMA, he got into it kind of late. So when he
Okay.
went in there and started training and started getting better, he was a brawler. He was a little bit of a brawler early on.
Oh, so his
he was a
style
little
is
green.
ugly.
So stylistically, they're like, oh man, you're ugly but effective. So we
Oh,
kinda
because
called
I'm
him
looking
Ugly
at him and I'm
Man
like,
Joe.
he's not a bad looking guy. He looks all right. He's in good shape. I was like, who hurt you, Joseph Holmes? So I don't know. So I'm gonna go. I mean, I don't know a lot about him. I'm gonna go completely wild card in this one and say somehow I think Joseph Ugly Man Holmes is gonna steal the show against Jamie Pickett. I don't know, and maybe they fight tonight. I'm not sure what's going on. But that's the fight for some reason I'm most keyed in on. That nickname just sold me.
But let's
We
work
just
that
got a
around.
little psychological experiment from AK right there, because he wanted to point out another interesting nickname to take away from some of the nicknames he just truly despises. And I think two of his most despised nicknames are both fighting on this card.
We just talked
Am I
about
right, AK?
one guy we just talked about.
which we
Go ahead,
avoided.
you can say. Oh, there's two. Oh wait, one we can say. One are we allowed to say?
Yeah, we won't say them. You'll know who they are.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're all throwing them out there. Casey, what's yours? Which flight is flying under the radar that just gets you all fired up and warm and cozy inside?
I'm going for the nickname route too, but I'm going Boom versus Kroom.
That's a good. That should be an interesting fight.
You know, Brian Kelleher, he's always exciting to watch. Kevin Kroom is a interesting character, and coming in on 6 minutes notice. I keep shortening it. 30 seconds notice, whatever. I'm just happy Brian got the Brian Kelleher gets the fight, and I think that's just a fun, exciting fight. It was one of those, like you like to say, Kroom's playing his house money, so just go in there, have a good time, and have a good time, throw some hands, and Mr. Kelleher will be totally down for that type of party.
Yes, that is going to be fun. The first round of that fight is going to be insane. The longer that goes, obviously, that's a Kelleher.
Yeah.
Kelleher just gets better as the fight goes, and Kroom's coming in on super short notice. Not that he's not like in shape because he's in the gym all the time, but you know how it is. It's different when you're in fight
Is
camp.
Kroom normally a 45er, or is he? What is Kroom normally?
Yeah, 155.
He's normally a 45er.
145.
Oh, he is normally a 45er.
He's also fought at 155, so he's definitely coming. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Keller
The
definitely
debut-
had to go up to meet him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the debut was at 55 because he fought Roosevelt Roberts on like 36 hours notice or something
okay.
crazy like that. Maybe even less than that if we're being honest. I'm going with, I think this is the made card opener. I'm not really sure.
ahead.
Let me just
Algio.
make sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that is the main card.
Algio, yeah.
Correct.
Algio, I'm excited about. He's always fun. I'm very intrigued by Joe Anderson Brito. This guy is a killer. This guy just puts people away. He's a very exciting guy. He's huge for the weight class, and he finishes fights. I know the Contender Series fight, it looks like he sort of faded down the stretch a little bit, but this guy is a finisher, and Bill Algio is that perfect style to just get in his face and be long and lean and just move forward, and Brito's going to get tested in this fight. I think this is a absolutely perfect piece of matchmaking by the matchmakers. They got this one right. Brito could be a potential star in this division because of his style and how exciting he is. He's not your typical Vanderlei Silva shoot to box guy. He's more of the Oliveira side of things, where he's a little more unpredictable. His ground and pound is tremendous. The dude is a monster. And Algio's going to be in his face the whole fight. So the longer that fight goes, and I feel like it's a theme with a lot of these fights, the longer that fight goes, things are going to get really interesting. So I think that's going to be a war. That'll be a lot of fun. That's a low key banger.
Oh,
At
real
least
quick,
we are sure that the fight's going to happen, right? I mean, is there that was touch and go all week because of COVID protocol, right? Something with on Brito's side.
Apparently we're good to go from all accounts. So, I mean, listen, we know the rules by now. We've been almost 2 years into this. It's never official till they're both in the cage. Yeah. The announcements come, ring announcer, Bruce Buffer, Joe Martinez shouts them out. Referee says, let's fight. And the first punch is thrown. But at least for now, we're going to act in a positive way as if all these fights are going to happen, right? That's what we need to do at this point.
10 fights. We got 10 left.
Real quick on Brito. His Contender Series victory. I'm looking. It was in Tapology. It has technical unanimous. What is that?
Yeah,
it ended before the fight was.
Yeah, there were fouls. Yeah. There were fouls. One fighter couldn't continue.
Oh, like one of those, like went past the 7.5 minute mark of the entire 15 minutes, and they just
Gotcha.
All right, the cards. Like, what is that? All right, thank you. Rules.
You're very welcome.
Rules
rule.
That's rules rule.
So, all right, let's go to the peeps. Let's see what they have to say about this.
All right,
about this card.
Let me see what we got here.
Ugly man.
And maybe the potential stakes of this card.
Ooh, let me open that up.
AK definitely the people's champ. There you go, AK.
We knew that. We knew that.
Wow.
That ain't a question. It ain't a question.
The momentum we started for Jed. Then Georgia goes on and wins the national championship. I mean, the guy's on fire right now. Joseph Boza. I am surprised about the co-main event. When I think co-main event, Chase Sherman versus Jake Collier doesn't scream co-main event. Royval Bontarine or Chikadze versus Maia should have co-main. Now, I don't want everybody to go back into the archives of these preview shows, but I feel like we have this conversation like once every 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
This happens. Maybe a fight falls out, and we bump up the random heavyweight fight to the co-main event. This is the UFC playbook. This is the formula that they've been putting together for years now. If a fight falls out and we have all these other fights and we're not sure what can be the co-main event, let's put the two heavyweights up there to just slam it out. How many times has like Jorgen De Castro been a co-main event when he was in the UFC? Nothing against Jorgen De Castro, but it's not like he was a number one contender for the heavyweight title, but he was in like 3 co-main events. So this is what the UFC does. But yeah. Anyone else want to add to this? I know you had this diatribe, AK. You were ready to explode about Chikadze and Maia getting the rub here, so now you can do it.
No, because like I said, from a hardcore standpoint, sure, we'd love to respect the rankings. We'd love to put flyweights up there, but in the shoes of a more casual audience, against some of the maybe a newer ESPN audience, it's completely justifiable to put 2 big swanging and banging guys in there. I understand completely. I'm championing Chikadze and Maia. I do not expect that to be an exciting fight. I will be shocked if that fight is like at all memorable. Despite I think both fighters are very talented. I think they deserve their ranking. They know how to win fights. They just don't win fights in an exciting way. Neither of them have a track record of putting on exciting fights, and that's just the truth.
Didn't explain Brandon Royval.
Oh, look, why he's a 125er. He's just too small.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just gonna say it. His nickname is Raw Dog.
Oh, you said it.
You can't have that.
You did it.
You can't have that on ESPN. You cannot have that in America. All right, children watch this stuff.
They're not going off air when he fights, man. Like they're still gonna show it. Let's show let's show a hot dog eating contest before Royval walks out.
I mean, look, if they wanted to really do something different, yes, you put this what's I think could be a fight of the night contest in the co-main. I don't know why, that's other than the fact that they're 2 small guys and you're worried. I don't know, people just see that and be like, I can't believe UFC people are so small and that this is a quote unquote co-main event. And again, that's stuff that these guys worry about, that the bean counters worry about, the guys at ESPN, the guys at the UFC worry about. That's beyond us. So I get it. They have concerns that we don't have, but for certainly on a situation like this, where so many fights fell through and you have 2 high-level flyweights like this, it should have been the co-main. But again, it's not like this super travesty that Sherman and Collier is the co-main event. People like heavyweights. People like watching big guys punch each other. I mean, that's the heart of it.
Dude,
I mean,
are you talking to people out there?
Jet Meshew is out there somewhere going like, this should have been the main event. Forget co-main. He's like, this should go on after Kattar and Chikadze, right? So,
not true. Not true.
What do you say on BT? What do you say on BT?
He said it was dumb.
He's on. I don't watch when he's on.
He said this being the co-main event was quote unquote dumb, in that
I
either of the
think,
flyweight fights should have been above it.
what was it the last pay-per-view with Kattar France and Cody Garbrandt? Was that the very last pay-per-view that they had?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just that loaded pay-per-view. What was the most violent knockout of the night? Freaking 125ers, you know? and I don't understand. Like, they consistently bring the action, either crazy grappling or just exciting knockouts, and yet we always get back into this whole, well, people love knockouts. I mean, people love heavyweights, but it sucks. It's not a co-main event. It's simply the last fight before the main event. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there could be a little bit of strategy to this as well, because
Tell me
we
more.
have to. What's going on CBS in America an hour and 15 minutes after the main card starts? The NFL playoffs. The Patriots, always a big ratings draw against the Buffalo Bills. Maybe they want to get Chikadze and Maya in front of the fans before they go over to CBS and watch the football game. Maybe it gives them a reason to come back when the main event happens. Maybe they set it up that way. I don't know. But they know they're going to get crushed in the ratings. They're going to get absolutely hammered by the Patriots-Bills game. It's not even going to be close. They got the MMA fans. How can we attract as many casual fans as possible? Because Giga Chikadze, there's a very good chance that fight happens at halftime. So they'll probably flip back anyways. They're going to do their best to time it that way. Plus Dana White, he wants to watch the freaking football game because the Patriots are playing.
The Dana White aspect of it, that might be it. Dana's just, I without a doubt expect some fan to take an iPhone photo of Dana White and the main event's going on, and there's a TV in front of him, and he's just watching the football game. I entirely expect that.
Absolutely.
Expect that.
He might not even be at the fights. He might just be sitting in his office watching the Patriots game. It's very possible.
Someone is definitely going to tweet out that picture, the one when he was watching the Canelo fight.
Yeah.
Well, he was in the Canelo fight, right? Someone's going to do that and just definitely at least Photoshop.
Yeah.
So people, careful on your social media. Like, we think it's going to happen, but before it even happens, someone will have that screenshot ready of like a football game on a little screen and Dana White watching it and just using it from the time he was watching Canelo instead of the UFC. So it's going to be out there whether it's real or not. Just be careful, guys. Don't get fooled.
To Dana's credit, he put that out there himself at the press conference. I remember that very vividly. He was like, "Yeah, I was watching the fight."
Yeah, I mean, he's watching it with like 10,000 fans right behind him, and like it was like he didn't make a secret about it. Man.
Yeah, he didn't lie. Yeah, he didn't lie about it. He just came out and said he was watching the fight. He won money.
It wasn't like he was at a wedding and like looking at his phone or something. Like he was.
Exactly.
You knew exactly what he was doing. Oh, but AK, what was the over under for Patriots mentions though? Are we?
I mean, no, I think it was like 2.5, and I think he went under.
We were over. I was mentioning the
I
word Patriots.
definitely went over 2.5.
Yeah, we're like.
I mean, well, you had to for the purposes of the scheduling discussion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I wasn't overdoing it.
That was justified. David Sandine says, Mike, you might be the real Prince of Positivity after that take, and I agree.
Yeah,
that's or at least for today.
I'm trying.
That was the most glass half full I've ever heard.
Yeah,
I love it, Mike.
love it. I would love it.
I'm trying. I'm doing my best.
All right.
What else we got?
We got more questions. Hold on.
Are there? Okay. I didn't see
here we go. It's not really a question, but
it is. It is though. Yeah.
A gift from the wife.
No more wearing fake band shirts like Bone Dust or Cat Wiener or whatever. I don't even know what music you listen to. I listen to cool bands like Taylor Swift and Pink.
Those aren't bands. Those are just singers.
Justin Bieber. I mean, come on, guys. This is you're not on the cutting edge. Billie Eilish. I'm a fan. I don't know what you're wearing on your shirt half the time. Like, these aren't real bands.
Speaking of music,
I saw. I know. I did. I tweeted out. I didn't tweet. I wrote some of the lyrics to Ugly Kid Joe's smash hit "I Hate Everything About You" in the comments.
Can you give a teaser? Just.
And I hate your daddy's guts too. Boo hoo. That's like my favorite line from the song, so I think it's the only one I remember. That song was a huge hit. That song.
He also did a remake of
Cats of the Cradle.
Cats of the Cradle. Yes, I remember that. That was a big song for him too.
They're a band. They're also a band, by the way. They are not one person. Ugly Kid Joe is the name of the band. But yeah, so they also shouted that out. Yes, originally by. It's probably a version a lot of people know.
What else you got? Anything else?
Actually, because let's just talk about him. Let's talk about this gentleman. And
Oh,
the effect he's had on this card.
I mean, what's there to say? He's in. What's going on? He was injured. He was
It's
injured.
kind of
I
a
mean,
mystery, right? This is
a
I think
bit.
this is pretty rare. I mean, I know Ariel said he's hurt. He knows. It's off the record and he won't say it publicly. But it's kind of interesting that Max Holloway's not only injured, but we don't know the injury and we have zero clue how long it's gonna be. Clearly long enough to not postpone the fight, to actually rebook it. So it's obviously not like a 2-week injury. But what is going on with Max Holloway?
I mean, it'll come out. I mean, I think it'll come out whatever his issue is. I don't think most fighters don't disclose what they're what's wrong with them. Especially someone he's been in this game a long time. He really has nothing to gain from revealing exactly what it is. He might not have a timetable for when he's coming back, but
Which is
yeah,
a big deal. That's if no timetable, that's a very serious injury. I mean, we're not
but I
talking
think
about a twisted ankle if you have no
we don't know
timetable.
that. I mean, we don't know if it's serious injury. It could just be they don't know. It could just be they don't know. It could be he's still there could be more tests and what have you that they have to do. Again, whatever the injury happens to be, it could be like, hey, I'll be back in April. Like we don't know. We don't know. I don't think we should assume the worst. A lack of information doesn't mean bad. Like it's bad. It's just I agree. I understand people want answers, but yeah, look, he's at the point of his career. He's not going to fight through any, I think, unnecessary injuries anymore. He knows that the clock is ticking on his career somewhat, and he wants to fight when he's at his best. Especially since this could be the last shot he ever gets at Volkanovski. Well, I think if he wins, they would fight again, but you don't know. This could be the last time they ever fight. If he loses, definitely the last time we ever see that fight. So he has to make sure he's 100%. I really think that's the issue. If he were a younger man, if this was Max Holloway 5 years ago, maybe he'd fight through whatever this is, unless as it could be, like we said, I don't know, something severe.
Max
But
just turned 30. It's not like you're already retiring, man.
In fight years, he's 40. In fight years, I mean, that boy has been in some battles. I mean, that boy has been in some wars. So it has aged him, unfortunately. And we know this. We know this is going back to the Khabib when he almost stepped up to fight Khabib, and we were all like, holy crap, what's going on with him, his interview. And we were worried. We've been worried since then. So we hope
go back to his whole. He had concussion issues, weight cutting issues. It's like
right?
He's holding all those all that. He doesn't really reveal too much about it, but we kind of know a little bit. But MMA, the UFC needs Max Holloway. Get better, Max. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't need to fight, so when he can take as much time as he needs. He's doing the video game thing. He's doing all these other things and doing very well for himself. He doesn't need to fight. He just likes to fight. He just likes the competitive aspect of the game. It's not about being world champion or anything like that. It's about going out there and competing because the dude is doing the damn thing right now with or without actually throwing a punch. So good on him. We wish him the best. I'm pretty much told everything Ariel was, so no real timeline.
I've seen a couple comments about this, but we kind of mentioned a bit.
All right, Joseph Boza, is Giga Chikadze overlooking Calvin Kattar this week? He seems more pissed that UFC 273 is Volkanovski versus Zombie than focusing on a tough Kattar. I get it. I talked to Calvin Kattar's head coach Tyson Chartier about this exact thing. It's on MMAfighting.com right now. Kattar, they don't fully feel that Giga is overlooking Calvin at this point, but they don't care. And if they feel that way, they're just going to use that as motivation. It's poster material. They'll put it on the wall. Things that Giga has said in the past, if they feel that way. But Giga's also said the right things. Like, I can't overlook Calvin Kattar. He's a very dangerous guy. This is the guy who, can get punched 500 times and keep moving forward. He's a very dangerous guy. I have to be very skeptical of that. So yeah, while there may be some focus being taken off the actual fight itself, I wouldn't say overlooking. I don't know if it's gotten that far. Does anybody else disagree with that?
I didn't necessarily like Giga's maybe his comments about Volkanovski took the easier fight. I think that's kind of ridiculous, but I don't believe in the overlooking part either. So it's kind of a little of both.
Yeah, I didn't. Whatever. It's never. I'm someone who always says it's never bad to throw ideas out there. I never mind like people calling out names. After they win a fight that are like far outside of their ranking. So I'd be a little bit hypocritical if I said, Giga should have just like shut his mouth about wanting to take the fight. Because who knows? What if he had gotten it, right? I mean, the chances were very slim. I think we all kind of raised our eyebrow when he even mentioned wanting to do it. But if by some weird chance he got it, then we'd all be like, we'd be like, holy crap, like
It worked. It worked.
Giga and his management have done it again. Like look how smart they are. So I don't love it. I don't think he's overlooking him. I don't think it'll be like if Calvin Kattar beats him. I hope people don't make this the narrative that like, oh, it's only because
they will.
I hope not. I hope because like we've said, Kattar has a lot of brings. It's so silly. Kattar brings so much to the table.
Yeah.
I don't like if like we said, the best version of him, if it's improved from a year ago, maybe it beats any version of Giga Chikadze, whatever, outside of the cage, drama or not. So I hope that's not the case. If it's any extra motivation for Kattar, then there you go. Then that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think it would be like it would take away from Kattar's win. I think it would just be more venom thrown at Giga. You know what I mean? Like it's a bad look for him. And that was kind of like one thing that Tyson Chartier said was that, listen, say whatever you want, but if Calvin goes out there and does his job, like it's not going to be a good look for him, the way he's been talking about the title fight and stuff. And by the way, let me just say this once again. I have no problem with Korean Zombie getting the fight. In fact, I think that was the fight. I never understood this big rush for Giga to get to fight for the title. If he beats Calvin Kattar and does so convincingly, his next fight more than likely will be for the belts, or maybe he fights Max Holloway. Either way, a huge fight is coming his way. And if you're Giga and his team and you can fight Volkanovski 6-7 months from now, like, isn't that better? Especially with this division. You might only get one shot. You might only get one chance to fight for the belt. What is the rush? What is the rush? Just fight him later on this year. I didn't understand this narrative that, like, we have to wait until Giga fights Kattar before we announce who the title challenger is. I would rather Giga get a full camp, be fully healthy, and fight for the title than him rushing through another training camp, because he's going to probably have to go 25 minutes with Kattar in this fight and then have to rush back and try to fight Alex Volkanovski, who might be the best fighter in the world right now, pound for pound, at least top 2, top 3. I didn't understand the need to rush him into a title fight. But I get it. I get why his resume merits it, surely. His resume would stack up better than anybody's who beats Calvin Kattar, but there's no need to rush him into a title fight, especially at that time. It was less than 2 months away. Like, what's the point? Just wait, get healthy, have a full camp, then fight Volkanovski. Be at your best when you get your chance to fight for the title.
I agree. One more question. We got one more. You ready?
Let's go.
I just lost it. Dang it. Where'd it go? AK, sing a song real quick. I lost
Where is the question? Where is the question?
And the last question is from Stephen K.
Gosh.
Do you remember? It's so funny, AK. Remember when we started the gymnastics rating and people like poo-pooed on it, and now everybody wants it back.
I want it back.
Well, especially for cards. I think for certain cards, it's more fun. I think when you have like some stacked pay-per-view, it's not really interesting. It's like, it's like a 9.5, 9.6. Like any stacked pay-per-view is like 9 or above, so it's not a lot. This kind of weird card that has been decimated by injuries and rescheduling and COVID, and like we said, has title implications, kind of, but doesn't. You do need to be a little more flexible, I think, than just saying, oh yeah, this card looks like a 8 out of 10. No, the ceiling for this card is, again, always with respect to all the guys and girls left fighting on the card. It's pretty low. But I do think that there's potential for a really great, memorable main event. And like I said, the Jake Collier Chase Sherman fight, as much as I've kind of mocked it just for its placement on the card, if that was on the prelims, I'd probably just be saying like, oh yeah, this looks really fun. This is a fun heavyweight matchup. I'm glad they threw these two together. So I don't want to insult those two guys any further, more than I already have. So I'll go as high as to say, because you know what they say, it's always the cards you don't talk about that end up delivering. Let's go a hard 7.0. I think if this card delivers on all fronts, it could be a 7 out of 7, if that makes sense to people. Like one that will be like, man, UFC got off to a good start. You know, I'm really looking forward to UFC 270 now. You know, I'm really in the mood for it now. This card whet my appetite for it. That's I think the ideal thing. I think expecting anything like a classic 10-fight card is maybe a bit much.
All right, there you go. Excellent gymnastics score, AK. And with that, you hear the music. We are out of here. Back tomorrow. What time's the prelims? 5 Eastern.
5 o'clock, 5 Eastern. Yes, correct.
All right.
So 4:30.
People's Free Fight Show,
4:30
4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. We'll get you ready for the fights, answer all of your questions, and then we'll be back after the fights to break it all down, and hopefully the Patriots-Bills game is going the way that I hope it goes, and I won't be as distracted. So until then, everybody, for Casey, for AKI, and Mike Heck, we'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.